to see you. Got a witness.
Got a witness. Mr. Secretary, good morning.
Morning, sir. Good to see you. Thank you. Mr. Secretary. See you. Thank you.
Okay. What is this now? What is this? This is all.
That's just a microphone. They had two mics. They turned it to one.
Yes, sir.
That's all.
It's all this
It's
right
okay,
here.
this is broken. It will not project sound, but they're plugged into the box there, so they will hear you.
Hand it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, well,
it is
I will.
handles there.
Yeah, go by. First of all, I'd like to take a moment of silence for the victims of the Mercy Hospital shooting. We would like to remember the fallen officer, Chicago police officer Samuel Jimenez. This shooting hits close to home as Officer Jimenez's wife works for the Secretary of State's office. Her name is Crystal Garcia, and she has worked for the Secretary of State's office for the past 3 years. I'm sorry for her loss. I'd like to recognize the gentlemen who are behind me. Mr. Bill Bogdan, he is my disability liaison for the Secretary of State's office. And we have Deputy Director Elma Garza, Secretary of State Police. Investigator Glenn Florkow, Secretary of State Police. Sergeant Sandy Brown, Secretary of State Police. Investigator Derek Garcia, Secretary of State Police. Beginning on Black Friday, November the 23rd, one of the busiest shopping days of the year, Secretary of State Police officers will be at the mall statewide cracking down on disability parking abusers throughout the holiday season. Secretary of State Police will be conducting enforcement in Aurora, Bloomington, Carbondale, Chicago, Fairview Heights, Oak Brook, Orland Park, Peoria, Rockford, Schaumburg, and Springfield. This marks the 12th year that the Secretary of State Police will be enforcing the parking program for persons with disabilities across the state of Illinois. People misusing disability placards will face a 6-month driver's license suspension and a $600 fine for the first offense. Repeat violators will face a 1-year driver's license suspension and a $1,000 fine for their second offense. Using a deceased person's placard or a fraudulent placard means a $2,500 fine and a 1-year driver's license revocation. The fine for parking in a disability parking space without a placard or disability license plate can be as much as $350. Oh my God. And that's a flip phone too. I'll tell you a story about that a little later on. Let me go with that one again. The fine for parking in a disability parking space without a placard or disability license plates can be as much as $350. Taking a parking space from someone in need violates all laws of human decency. Plus the fines for the fines you face, those dollars could easily be used for shopping rather than paying the state of Illinois for that infraction. So remember, if you don't belong there, don't park there. To report an abuse, you can go to our website, www.cyberdriveillinois.com, www.cyberdriveillinois.com. I'm also reminding motorists to remember Drinking and driving should not ever occur after you have consumed more than your fair share of alcohol. Make sure that you have a designated driver or prepare to go from point A to point B after you have consumed some alcohol. Tomorrow, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, is known as Blackout Wednesday for high rates of binge drinking and driving. Please be careful. Last year, over the holiday weekend, there were 15 traffic fatalities. 4 were alcohol related, according to IDOT. If your celebration includes alcohol, make sure you have a designated driver or take a cab, a ride share service, or use public transportation. But under no circumstances should you get behind the wheel of an automobile after you have consumed any form of alcohol. Also, please don't text and drive or use your cell phone, because that is classified as a distraction. And we want you to live a long and productive life. At the same time, we don't want anyone else to fall victim because of your desire to use your cell phone or text. Now I'd like to bring forth my disability liaison, Bill Bogdan.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. My name is Bill Bogdan. I serve as the disability liaison to Illinois Secretary of State Jesse White. I'm happy to say that this is our 12th year of the Secretary of State and the Secretary of State Police doing this crackdown. And over the years, you know, we constantly see people that abuse this vital program for persons with disabilities. As a person with a disability myself, those spaces are imperative for me to basically get in and out of my car, and to basically get in and out for my day, and to be able to easily get my kids out of the car, get myself out of the car. And when people take away those spaces, it makes it that much more difficult for persons with disabilities to go about their day. Our message is very clear. If you don't belong here, please don't park here. Our Secretary of State Police will be out in force to ensure that these spaces are used accordingly. If you are a person with a disability, personal responsibility is very important. Do not allow your friends or family members to use your parking placards or your disability license plates when you're not in a vehicle. Police have clear authority to confiscate the parking placard and issue the ticket that Secretary White mentioned, which carries a $600 fine and a 6-month driver's license suspension. And with the confiscation of your placard, unfortunately, you won't be able to use that placard when you truly need it if you're out and about. So please do not allow your friends and family members to use your parking placards or disability license plates when you're not in the vehicle. As I mentioned, our message is very clear. If you don't belong here, please don't park there. Thank you.
As an observation, I drive around the city of Chicago on a regular basis, and I see individuals driving with their placard affixed to the rearview mirror. That is a violation. You only should display your placard when you are parking the car. You cannot ever drive with it affixed behind the rearview mirror. So now with us is Secretary of State Investigator Glenn Florkow.
Thank you and good morning. Just want to make it very clear to the motoring public that the Secretary of State Police will be out in full force. We're dedicated to ending the abuse of the use of the parking placards for those who are not entitled to it. And when we do make these approaches to individuals and we investigate further as to if they're eligible to be using the placards or that, on occasion we'll get excuses. And there is no such thing as a good excuse for using somebody else's placard or a stolen placard, etc. Please keep in mind too that when we are doing this enforcement, occasionally when a person knows that they're going to be cited for a violation, they ask for a warning. So please consider this presentation your warning. There will be no other warnings issued during the enforcement on Black Friday and days following. Thank you.
We have observed individuals who use a deceased person's disability placard. That can amount to a $2,500 fine and a 1-year revocation. And then there are individuals who decide to be creative. They want to make a placard or design their own placard. The same thing holds true, $2,500 fine and a 1-year revocation. So with that, I'd like to respond to any questions you have.
Someone who is borrowing someone's placard, are people making these placards? Can you share any stories of what
All of the above is still out there. Bill?
Primarily, we issue several different types of parking placards for individuals with disabilities. I've got 3 of them here, 3 of the 4 that we issue. But primarily, a lot of the abuse that we find are when the placards are lawfully issued to a person with a disability, but it's a friend or a family member that is running an errand, going shopping, and they feel it's perfectly fine for them to use their mother's placard, their father's placard, their grandparents' placard. Right on every single placard that is issued by the Secretary of State's office, it states that the placard is not transferable and that the authorized holder of the placard must be present and must enter or exit the vehicle at the time the parking privileges are being used. Illinois is well respected for its parking program for persons with disabilities. Several states now have adopted some of the same techniques or some of the same programs that we have implemented with our parking program for persons with disabilities. We are very proactive, and Secretary White has been a staunch advocate for persons with disabilities, trying to ensure that this abuse will not be tolerated. And I think our commitment being out here with our Secretary of State Police for the last 12 years really shows that we're here to try to end this type of abuse.
any idea how many citations you issued last holiday, like Thanksgiving weekend, or maybe last year?
I mean, our bottom line is not to issue tickets; it's to have compliance. We can get you statistics from that from last year and in the prior years, but our whole message is not to issue tickets. It's basically to have people comply with the program.
To answer your question, 24 citations were issued. And I think the placard that's missing there is the green one. The green placard is being used for centers or where they are transporting senior citizens to the mall or to the various locations. So there are 4 placards that are out there.
And I'm sorry, so that one's for like a bus or something like
Like a bus or a van. Not for profit organization. Okay. Well, thank you. Gentlemen, everybody come up on.
If you fully enforce this one, you could probably balance the state budget.
We think that we have the right guy in there for that.